Music producers, what's good? In this week's interview, we interviewed Beautiful Beats. This dude has almost 100,000 on Instagram and over 13,000 on YouTube, so he definitely knows what he's doing when it comes down to content. And let me tell you guys what, when you guys hear this guy's schedule and how determined he is, he deserves everything that he has gotten and is going to get because this dude is committed to the grind. As always, the whole interview can be found within our course, The Constant Conversion Strategy. Also, in a future interview, I'm gonna start bringing on some smaller known producers like the guy NGeezy. I don't know where the hell this guy came from, but he just popped up as a student and in our Discord, and this guy just gets beat sales left and right. So I definitely wanna talk to him and hear what he has to say about selling beats online. So to learn more about the course, just check out the free masterclass in the description below, and let's get into the interview with the homie Beautiful Beats. All right, man. So I guess I'm just gonna start it off like this because this is how I do it.
Sure.
Around here. So if you just want to give the backstory of how you get started or how you got started with music, and we'll just kind of start from there and go from there.
All right. I guess we'll take it way back. So I was in high school. I guess we'll go even further back. I played the piano since I was 3, and I always hated the piano. Like, I was like the worst thing ever to me.
Okay.
Because, like, you know, the usual piano lessons, you go in, there's a teacher, and they put the book in front of you, and you're playing, you know, Beethoven or whatever for the 100th time. It's like, okay, you know, like I like Kanye West. Like, this is not exactly it. So I quit that when I was like 12. I was like, I'm never touching music ever again.
Interesting.
Came into high school, and I think it was 2016 or 2017. My buddy was like, dude, you got to get Apple Music. Like, Apple Music had just came to be.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I was like, the only music I need to hear is what's on the radio, right? That's the only music that exists. And he was like, no, dude, like, Kanye's dropping an album. I was like, dude, I never listened to Kanye. Like, I don't even know who Kanye is. He's like, you got to listen to it. So I think it was Life of Pablo. And I listened to Life of Pablo, and I was like, well, this is awesome. And I was like, I wonder how all this is made, you know, the genius of Kanye or whatever. So then you get into some rabbit holes on YouTube, and you're watching like all the greatest producers ever. And you're like, this is like the coolest thing ever. So then I kind of like dove into it a little bit. And this is a name that I bring up all the time. I don't know if you know who Pat Ryan is. Have you ever heard of Pat Ryan?
Yeah, I think so.
He was like a YouTuber like 3 years ago. Dude hasn't posted in 3 years, but he was like one of the first people I remember doing like beat tutorials, like cooking up on YouTube. He was super cool. And like, I was like, that dude is literally like, if I could do anything. Yeah, right. Exactly. So for whatever reason, he stopped posting. Like, people have their own reasons, but that was kind of like it. And then I don't know if you know the name Lakey Inspired.
Yeah. Yep. Oh.
So Lakey's like a legend. That dude was like the first person posting beat videos on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I was like, okay, that's really cool too. So in high school, that was kind of it. I had started making music. I didn't tell nobody I was making music. And then in college, my freshman year, I started Beautiful Beats, just like posting beats on Instagram in my dorm room. Mm-hmm. Still didn't tell anybody. I was mortified for anybody to find out that I was making music. Seriously, bro.
Yeah, no.
I was super scared. So I went to college to play basketball. I was a basketball player, and, you know, that's what people knew me as. And, you know, it's just like, I was just horrified of, like, you know, people, you know, one, I wasn't that good. So that was part of it. 2, like, yeah, I was probably a little afraid that like people would make fun of me. And it's just an awkward, weird conversation to have. Be like, yeah, I make beats. And they're like, aren't you the dude like on the basketball team? Like, yeah. So, you know, I wanted to just kind of build something before I really told my friends. So that building something turned into 4 years of college and me kind of doing it on the side and doing it over the summer. It kind of grew and grew to a point where I was like, you know, there's something here. And when I graduated, I was like, my mom and dad were like, you know, let's go for it, give it a shot. No clue how much money I was going to make, how much I was capable of making. I knew I could make some, but I was like, you know, let's see where this can go. So there was a couple goals of like numbers we wanted to reach. And it's surpassed that in full. And now I do all this stuff with content and, you know, music and things like that. And it's gone extremely well. I've been out of college for exactly a year, 2 days ago. So things have been going extremely well.
All right. So we're like on the exact same timeline then. Okay. So graduate high school, 2017, right?
Yep. Same.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Yeah. So like, yeah, pretty much right there with you.
There we go.
All right, man. Okay. Well, dude, I've watched a lot of interviews. I watched a lot of content. I guess the first thing I want to bring up is how supportive you have. That's not a sentence. How supportive your family seems to be of everything you do. Like, what role
Sure.
does that play? Because I watched a studio breakdown. You mentioned your mom like 10 times. And I was like,
Right.
dude, like, you have lunch with your mom. It's favorite part of the day. I was like, how important is that to you?
Yeah. So obviously, I mean, I'm nothing without my family. My family is extremely important. I think that goes without saying. But as far as like supporting the music stuff, my parents are very old school, and that's okay.
Mhm.
Like I love them to death. Everything they do is kind of like, it took us forever to even get phones in the first place. It was like, it took us, we don't even have cable, like, all that stuff. So
Mhm.
they're very new to this whole, social media world and how it works. So at the start, they didn't know what the hell I was doing. Right. They're like,
Mhm.
you post your music and people listen to it.
People
They're like,
buy it? What?
right. What? Yeah. Yeah.
Why?
So I remember coming to the kitchen one time. I was like, some dude just bought a beat for $5, and I thought I was the coolest person ever. Seriously, I was like,
Uh,
let's go. I was like, see, I told you I could make money. And they're like, yeah, why don't you go buy a couple candy bars and see where that gets you? So and as it kind of grew, I think the main reason you asked this question is probably because there's people that have parents that are very skeptical of it. And my
yeah.
thought has always been, mine were the same way, and they have a right to be that way, right?
Mhm.
Given what it is and how difficult it is. My thought was always like, okay, I just got to prove them wrong, right? You know, I don't blame them for not fully believing in it and understanding it, but I have to show them. It's my job to show them and prove them wrong, right? So if I'm proving them wrong, I'm also proving myself right. So I think that was the biggest thing for me. There's still a lot of things that they don't understand, and it's a constant thing to be like, hey, this is how this works.
Yeah.
And obviously, it helps a little bit when money coming in, but
Mhm.
that I think that's my biggest advice. If someone is like that, where they're like, my parents just don't get it, it's like, show them, prove it to
Wrong.
them. I think that's the biggest thing, is like, you got to give them a reason to believe in you, right?
Mhm.
So that's kind of the story on that. But their support has been amazing, for sure.
Awesome. So I guess it'd almost be like a chip on your shoulder is kind of how you always felt. It's like you have to prove them wrong, and it's how that belief that you can do this yourself.
Right. Correct.
So,
Absolutely. That's been the biggest thing for sure.
100%. All right. So in the RMC Beats interview, you mentioned reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. So my next question is, well, I guess two questions. One, do you read a lot of books? And two, do you consider yourself entrepreneurial?
Yeah, I think entrepreneur is like in my blood. Like, if I had a first name, a last name, and a third name, I think entrepreneur would be my third. So it was like, I've kind of always just had, first off, on the books thing, I attempt to read a lot of books. I don't want to act like I just sit and acquire all
Just
this
read all
energy
day.
all day. Right. Like maybe a couple minutes before bed, once or twice a month. You know what I mean? But Rich Dad Poor Dad was like the first one where I really was like obsessed with it. Like, it was an everyday thing, like really reading it. As far as like the business stuff goes, I became like obsessed with building the business side of it. Like, because I knew that was the first step in being able to prove to my mom and dad and prove to everybody else that this was real. So I'm not someone who's like, just ignore your craft, don't get better at music. Like, that stuff is all great. But for me to really make it a reality, I had to focus on the business stuff. So yeah, being an entrepreneur has always kind of been in my blood a little bit. I guess, like, since I was a kid, I was always, I would just get like obsessed with something. I don't know if you have that. Like,
Yeah, no, I
I
totally
was,
get obsessed with stuff, and it's good and bad.
right, dude,
I
I
get
was obsessed.
immersed.
I was obsessed with like Rubik's cubes for like 2 years. I was a madman, just like messing with Rubik's cube, buying new ones, like, which is probably not as lucrative of an obsession. So that
Yeah.
that needed to go on the wayside, or like learning how to draw, or like even as a kid, like playing with Legos. Like, you just want to build the biggest thing possible, and like it's kind of the same thing as like what I'm doing now, is just like keep building and building and building and building and building. And yeah, that's for sure. Being an entrepreneur is for sure in my blood. Absolutely.
Interesting. So I'm gonna give it here because it's always this part goes on YouTube. All the top people are saying they're entrepreneurial, so take some goddamn notes.
Right. Yeah. Seriously.
I guess. Okay, so I guess we'll go back freshman year of college.
Yep.
So you were kind of doing this on the side almost. Do you think that kind of helped you, as in the sense of that, like, you weren't really there was no pressure if you failed almost. Like this wasn't really something you were doing. This was kind of your side thing. So it was like, yeah, you know, if this doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. Do you think that that mindset kind of helped your journey of you weren't so dependent on that one thing? Do you think that helped you kind of just keep going when motivation might not have been that high, the numbers might not have been that good?
Great question. Yeah. So I, well, we'll go, I'll take it two
Yeah,
ways.
yeah,
Absolutely. Yes. Um, the goal was always, the goal was always build it up through college. And by the time you're done, it can be your job. That was the goal.
yeah. Okay.
Make it your job by the time you get out. So that's not pressure, right? That's not real pressure, but you know, it's like, it's something to keep in the back of your mind. I think me being obsessed definitely helped too, of being able to be consistent. But I put a lot of pressure on myself. I don't want to act like I was just like, you know,
Just happened.
willy,
Just happened one
willy.
day.
Yeah, I don't want to act like I was willy nilly, like, oh, no pressure, I'm going to put this out. I've been posting on Instagram for 5 years, and every video I post, I'm locked in to see what.
Don't worry, we'll get to the daily schedule next
Yeah,
about this.
right. So I really lock in. Like there was a lot of days where I was super obsessed and super upset with how many numbers I got, or super happy with how much numbers I got. Like I remember, this is a great story because I posted the first summer. So this is the summer after my freshman year of college. Sorry to put you down a rabbit hole here.
No, let's
That
go
summer,
down the rabbit hole. Please.
That summer I went super hard. Like I worked 2 or 3 jobs. But every morning I would wake up before I would go work at this pool that I worked at. I would just make a video. And that was the standard. It was like, okay, you're going to wake up and make a video every day. If it's trash, the beat's trash or not, we're getting it out. And that was the standard. And so I became obsessed, grew the Instagram to like 4,000 followers in that summer. Cool. Awesome. But when I go back to school, things are a little different, right? You got class, basketball takes up a lot of time. So I kind of like stopped posting. I didn't have anywhere to go to make the videos. I would like try to time up my roommate being gone with being able to make the video, stuff like that. So I like really stopped posting for an entire school year, and I come back and I'm like, oh, I'm still going to get the same numbers, as I views and everything. That's not how this shit works. You know what I mean? So you stop posting, people are going to stop caring. And that's really what happened. I forget what your original question was, but I think that's an important thing. That was a quick lesson I learned, where it's like, I was so upset. I was like, oh, I just ruined this. Like I didn't do anything. I didn't work at all on this. And I thought I just kind of killed my whole page and all that stuff. But so that's a valuable lesson that I learned just in the early days. And I definitely would get upset. And I definitely had days when I was super happy about how things are going. But it was a grind, man, for sure. Especially with everything going on.
I guess then the perfect question is, what made you keep going after you posted, after being gone? You're like, fuck, this is like, a lot of people would be like, okay, this isn't really for me. What grit was there in your blood to be like back on the horse again?
Yeah. I think I also have this weird obsession with like figuring out the problem, like solving the issue. Okay. Why, when the Instagram algorithm changes, why are my videos doing bad now? What do I need to do different? Like, I just kind of became like obsessed with figuring out, how do I get back to a different point? And that was still always in the back of my mind. It was like, do you want to go work somewhere else, or do you want to be able to do your own thing? And at the end of the day, I didn't want to work for nobody else but myself. It doesn't click with me. I can listen to people, I can take instructions, but I really don't like it. And I definitely didn't want to do something that I didn't want to do. So at the end of the day, it was like, you only got one choice. If that's something you want to do, it's like, just get back on the horse and let's keep going at it, keep trying different things, but yeah, to keep going, I guess it was just, I don't know, man, it was something. It might've been something spiritual that made me keep going, something for sure.
Super interesting, man. I love having these conversations because like this is something I never derive from just watching the YouTube content. So it's always super interesting to hear about that. All right. So I guess going into, well, let's not forget you're a music producer as well. You also make music. How the hell do you balance making music while also being because they're two separate jobs, or two separate things. Like how have you found a balance to still be a music producer while still make all this content?
Yeah, good idea. Good question. That's a great question. And I guess the answer is sometimes is that content takes a front seat, you know, because that is what is bringing in, that's what makes it all possible at the moment. I would say most of my like real time making music is, you know, within a YouTube video, or like from like 9 o'clock. And I know you wanted to get in the daily schedule, but most of my music, making music for fun and enjoyment and really focusing on the craft, kind of takes place in the after hours, you know, of my work. And like, yeah, I sit here and I, you know, make music for sure, but I'm not going to tell you I make a beat every single day. That's just not true. Like today I'll probably edit for 7 hours, and that's all I'll do today. You know what I mean?
You gotta
love it. Yeah. So that's really like, that's the truth of it. And I actually like that I don't have to make that much music. Like I love it. I love the process of it. It's great, but I might not be cut out to make a beat every single day. Like, you know, that maybe it loses its flair a little bit. And then I'm eager and excited to go make music when the time comes. So I think that's how I balance it. It's just, I prioritize things, which I think is huge, but yeah, a little bit of that.
Sweet. Okay. So now
that answered your question.
Yeah. I think you said it perfectly with doing the video editing. It can just be like by hour 5, you're like, dear God, please help me. And then just being able to like refreshly come back to music, it gives it a whole different perspective. Because I think if you just stay in your DAW for 8 hours a day, it's like you're not going to get shit done. Yeah. But to always kind of have kind of those up and lows of like, okay, now I'm excited to make music again because I just was dicking around in Premiere for 6 hours.
Right. Yes. Right. Exactly. Yeah, for sure. And I always say like your creative brain is like a muscle, right? There's times when you have to push it, and there's times when like you need to rest it. And I've always like, I like video editing. Well, I like it a little bit, not as much as I like making music, but like at least there is an end goal. I know what the finished product is going to be. A lot of times with music, you're trying to constantly figure out what that end product is, and whether it's going to be good or bad, you don't know. With video editing, I know what the video is going to end up looking like. So that's a very like tedious thing, but it also is a thing that has a definite result and a rewarding result. So like that doesn't require as much creative brain power as like sitting down and trying to make a song. You know what I mean? So it's just different parts of the brain that I try to, you know, keep separate and also give the time that they need. So yeah.
Interesting. So now getting them the time that they need. Dude, I heard your daily schedule and I was like, this dude is so freaking disciplined. How important, I mean, well, first, I guess just run through how you do stuff with your scheduling and how important that is. Like, if you want to make this your full-time job, kind of balancing is like, okay, it's a creative thing, but this is also my freaking job.
Right.
Like, just, take that however you want it and run.
The discipline comes from sports, if I'm being completely honest. The discipline comes from also my mom and dad of just like, when something needs done, it's time to get it done. You know what I mean? There's no dicking around. There's no screwing around. It's like, this is it. This is what's going to happen. I want to give a lot of credit. So during my basketball career, halfway through my career, I had a new coach. I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to give away where I'm from and everything, but great guy. If he ever watches this, who knows who I'm talking about. He was like, dude's a freak. Like, he's young. And he would always just talk about what's our process, what's our standard, what do we hold ourselves to? Everyone has the same goals. We all want to be this, we all want to be that, but it's the decisions you make every single day that gets you to, you know, wherever the part you want to be. So he was the kind of guy where we'd show up for like 6 a.m. conditioning. Everyone's just drowsy as hell. And he's walking out of the weight room drenched in sweat. He's been there for an hour already, just getting to it. And he's ready to go. So he's just type A. And that was kind of like seeing that and seeing someone who talks about it, but also lives it. And he's a young dude coaching at a university. So he's got something figured out. Yeah. So I was like, that's how he approaches basketball is how I should approach, you know, my stuff. And, you know, I think you're right. You need a little bit of discipline to be able to actually do that. And do I screw up? Some days I don't work as much as I want. And some days, you know, maybe I'm on TikTok for too long. Yeah, it happens. But like, that's where the daily process comes from. But I can run through the schedule. the
Do it,
usual
dude. Do it. I need people to hear this from the freaking start from the night before.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So the night before, and this is something that I tend to flake on and don't do well. I always try to type out what needs to be done for the next day.
Mm-hmm.
So when I wake up, it's like no questions asked. This is what we're doing. You know, there's no, oh, well, maybe I could find time for this. It's like, no, this is what it's going to be when you wake up. Actually, probably since the RMC interview, I think I said I was waking up at like 6:30 or whatever, maybe a little before 7.
Mm-hmm.
I pushed that up to 5:30 in the morning.
You're
I'll
insane.
either go and, yeah, it's sickening. I don't know why I do it. I'm so tired this morning, but I get up. Sometimes I'll play basketball in the mornings, and I play with like a bunch of 50-year-old men. I'm like the best player there, and it's a lot of fun. But or I'll just go lift. But that is like gets me going, right? A little human interaction. I can talk to some people. You get some sunlight. Like that's what wakes you up. That's what gets you going. I think talking to people, human interaction is like the best thing. Like if I have to cuss somebody out on a basketball floor, that's going to wake you up. You know what I mean? That's going to get you going for the day. So that's the start of it. And I think that is the most important part of it, to be honest. Without that, you can ask my mom. She's like, if I don't work out, I'm not the same human.
Just days off.
Yeah, I'm not the same human. She's like, what's going on? And I was like, well, you know, I didn't get to do this today because I had a dentist appointment or something. Mm-hmm. So then it goes into, I always post my videos. If I'm posting a song, a video, whatever it is, it always happens at 9:15 a.m. without exception, which is psychotic, but you know, it is what it is. Mm-hmm. For whatever reason, it's been 9:15 for years, and I don't stray from it just because it's a routine. And I like it in the morning because I get it done. So I'll spend about an hour or so just responding to any kind of comment or any kind of DM. I try to respond to all my DMs, all my comments. At this point, it's just like, I like a clean slate. I like, you know, being able to know that I got to everybody, but I also think it's super important as a creator to be in touch with the people that care about what you're doing. Like,
yeah, those people messaged you, honestly. Like, that's, yeah. I forget like how much effort a message is. It's still like somebody went out of their way to type me, even a fucking voice message. Oh my God. I'm like, dude, you deserve the world for this.
Yes, exactly. Like if someone is reaching out to me and whatever it is, it could be a 13-year-old asking how to program hi-hats. I'm going to give that kid the time of day because I was also once that kid who was like, God, it'd be really cool if, you know, no knock on Pat Ryan, but that guy that I mentioned before, I tried to DM him before and dude didn't respond, which is okay. But I'm just saying, like, I want to be different in that way. So after that, once all the comments are done and all that stuff is done, if it's a Monday, I always try to film all like my YouTube stuff on Monday and Tuesday. So I have the rest of the week to edit it, and I post every YouTube video on Sunday. So that's how that goes. On the Wednesday, Thursdays, and Fridays, I try to be done with like all my content stuff by like 10 or like 9:45, and then I go to like a public library and just sit there and edit. I feel like when I'm
interesting. So you go to a library to edit
because I want to immerse myself in a bunch of people that are working. You know what I mean?
Did you get that from college?
No, I actually just picked that up. I was just like, I would find myself like, yeah, I have this like studio or whatever, but like I'd find myself on the couch and then I get sleepy and then I like maybe get on my phone. You know what I mean? So I go to the library to just like immerse myself in people that are working, probably doing a lot smarter things than I am. And I just feel like, hey, everyone's here to work. You need to get to work too. So that's something I do. That's helped me. I've seen myself get more done throughout a day, especially with editing. And then I'll come back here. Maybe I'll make some music. Maybe like I'll work on like some songs that I'm working on, or collaborations. And then like I always try to film my Instagram video for usually during that time as well. So that time is just kind of like what needs done. Is the website need editing? Do you need to upload something? So that time is just like whatever. And there's nothing really specific, but like that's kind of the framework of a week, I would say.
Super interesting. All right, dude. So if you have anything else you want to plug before the end, go for it. If not,
just type in beautiful beats anywhere and hopefully I come up. But yeah, thank you for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Awesome. All right, guys. Peace out.
Yeah. See you guys.